Imagine this. You wake up one day realizing that the place you call home will soon disappear. Not because of war, not because of politics, but because your home floods every year, or harvest fail because of drought, or rising sea levels soon swallow your land. You are forced to move, not because of choice, but because of climate change. Today, across South Asia, millions face this reality. Climate migration happens when people are forced to move because environmental conditions make their home unlivable. This can happen due to floods, droughts, cyclones, rising sea levels, or even extreme temperatures. South Asia is one of the most vulnerable regions for climate risks in the world. Countries like Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, Nepal, and even Afghanistan face some of the highest vulnerabilities. According to the World Bank, South Asia could see tens of millions of internal climate migrants by 2050. But climate migration is a tad more complicated than that. People rarely move because of climate change alone, and it is normally a mix of economic factors, war or instability, and disasters. Now, there are three reasons why South Asia is particularly vulnerable to climate risks and hence climate migration. First, geography. Large parts of the region lie in floodplains and coastal zones. For example, Bangladesh sits in the Ganges Brahmaputra delta, making it extremely vulnerable to flooding. Second, population density. South Asia is nearly home to 2 billion people, so even small environmental changes affect millions. Third, economic dependence on agriculture. Many families depend on farming and fishing, which are directly and obviously impacted by climate change. According to my research, countries with stronger democratic institutions tend to handle climate change better. Why? Because democratic governments are more likely to create relief policies, support displaced populations, and invest in climate adaptation. But in many South Asian countries, climate change is not treated as a priority policy incentive, and this can create a dangerous gap. When we think of climate refugees, we often imagine people crossing borders. But in reality, most climate migration happens within countries. Farmers moving to cities, coastal communities moving inland, and disaster victims relocating to safer districts. Competition over resources can create the climate migration loop. Climate disasters force people to migrate. Migration increases pressure on cities, jobs, and resources, and this can create social and political tensions. In some cases, it can even trigger conflict. For example, disputes in Assam in India have been linked to migration pressures from climate affected areas in Bangladesh. Similarly, internal migration in Pakistan after floods has created tensions over land and resources. So, climate migration doesn't automatically cause conflict. It can act as a threat multiplier, causing further risks to even more politically volatile regions. There is also another problem. International organizations recognize refugees fleeing war. But there is no official legal category for climate change migrants. This means millions of people displaced by climate disasters fall into a legally grey area. Organizations like the International Organization for Migration are trying to address this challenge, but global frameworks are still very incomplete. Climate migration is one of the biggest challenges the world will face in the coming decades. Researchers estimate that around 45 million people in India alone could be displaced by climate impacts in the coming decades. Across the global south, the number of climate migrants could reach 143 million by 2050. In South Asia, the issue is not just environmental. It's economic, it's political, it's social, and even humanitarian. If governments fail to account for and prepare for climate migration, the region could face serious instability tomorrow, even more so than today. Because the climate crisis is no longer just about rising temperatures, it is about moving people.